Hey guys, and welcome to my video. This is Adam Wolf of Canis Awakening, and tonight we're just going to do a little bit of a checking in and self-care ritual. So we're going to get started pretty soon. I hope that you're having a good night so far tonight, or day, should it be daytime for you. This is my first official video. I've recorded a few, but this will be my first one that I put out online. So bear with me. I'm still learning. I do little sort of rituals like this all the time. And I have with us today this is just an IKEA sheepskin rug. I think this one's been dyed black. It's really just kind of a nice, soft touch. And I have, this is one of my favorite things. This is a raven feather that I found actually while I was walking in a park. And I was looking for some sort of insight into some changes in my life. And raven for me has always been a really beautiful and helpful guide. And I happened to be walking, and right in the middle of my path, this big old feather was laying, so I brought it home with me. I asked Raven, and he didn't seem to mind, so I have this now as a part of my, I guess, animal spirit / esoteric collection. And this over here is a hawk feather, and this was gifted to me by one of my good friends, whose spirit animal is a hawk, actually. And this too came at a time when I was seeking some guidance, but seeking a bit more with sort of how to get back in touch with my own personal fire, my own personal brand of masculinity. And hawk, I find, can be really helpful as far as embracing that and sort of focus as well. So I've always enjoyed having this feather as a part of my ritual practice, and also just to kind of inspire me from day to day. So this is maybe a little bit ASMR-ish, but also just designed to kind of, again, check in with ourselves and check in with the universe as well, and maybe see what the animal spirits have to say along the way regarding any messages that might be helpful to hear, to kind of reorient us towards manifesting our desires and really allowing ourselves to step into our power. So I'm going to start things off. Now that we've said hello to our little feather guides, by lighting a little candle. I like these. These are little, you can see this, focus, 100% beeswax candles I got from an online shop on Etsy, actually. And they are They have their own little bee farm, and they treat the bees well, which is really important, and don't feed them, any chemicals or anything like that. So the bees are nice and healthy, and beeswax is 100% organic. There's no paraffin or any junk in there. And the candle wicks are actually cotton, so they burn really well and cleanly. Actually, I really like these. They're not only good for kind of clearing the air, good for allergies, but they also have just this slight sort of honey to scent, which I really enjoy when they burn, and even if you smell it up close, you can usually get a little bit of a whiff. So when I do any kind of ritual, I like to have a little one burning, just so I find it kind of connects me to the earth and also connects me to spirit as well, and helps me to feel, I don't know, I think anytime you have a candle, there's almost a bit more of a reverent sense to it, which I really enjoy. And I'll post a link to the shop below. I'm not endorsed by these guys or anything like that. I just really like their candles. So I'd be happy to share that with you guys. So alright, so I'm going to light this here, but I think I'm going to put it off to the side in a minute because I don't want it to drip on these guys. So going to be setting our intention of just, again, checking in with ourselves and getting any insight that we need from spirit, from any animal spirits or guides. I work primarily with animal energies and archetypes, so that's what we'll be focusing on. I don't know if you can actually see that fire. And just sort of, encouraging us to get back in touch with ourselves, kind of check in, see where we're at and where we need to be going, and anything we need to keep in mind in that process. Let's see how this goes. Might need to move it in a minute, but I figure it might look a little pretty there in the meantime. I think one of the beautiful things about fire is it's sort of, its own alchemic process. So by lighting a little flame, especially as part of a ritual, I feel like, it gives us the opportunity to sort of declare our intentions and sort of be clear about the fact that we're open to sort of creating our own reality and acknowledging our power in that. So I'm gonna put this guy, I think, off to the side for right now. Might make an appearance a little later. But for now, I think it will be helpful to have off screen, so it's not messing with the lighting too much or anything like that. I apologize if you can hear a little bit of traffic. I live in a residential neighborhood that's not too noisy, but it is in the evening, and that can be I find a little bit noisier. So we're going to ask Raven and Hawk to give us a little bit of guidance, and just again bringing forward that sort of masculine and feminine energy, the moon and the sun being able to kind of help us to tap into what we have, internally, and be able to do some reflecting work, but also be able to gain some insight and clarity into how to move forward and how to kind of bring our energy forward in terms of manifestation of what we desire as well. Okay, so I have a little citrine here. I don't know if you'll be able to focus on it, right? And citrine is a great stone for the solar plexus, which is that sort of yellow gold chakra. It's sort of right at the bottom of your rib cage, right where your diaphragm is. It's associated with personal power and free will, and your own personal will and desire. This is sort of almost amber color. I wonder if I can bring in that candle and get a little bit of a better light. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, you can see it's a little bit clear. It almost has some like kind of webbing in it. Ooh, that's hot. A little bit close to the fire. Yeah, it has almost had like a webbing in it. You can see. I think there's probably a word for that in terms of stone lore, I guess, but I really like it. It has a really good sort of personal empowerment connotation and energy to it. So we're going to have this be kind of joining us today. Let's give you a little tiny, just nestle down among these feathers. Alright, without further ado, so the deck that I use for my readings, I actually use two decks. I also use my Raven Oracle cards, but we're not going to be working with those today because I want to be able to have a bit more of a, I'm going to say more well-rounded reading. But the deck I use is the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck, and it's by Kim Kranz, or Kranz, I want to say. And this, I think, is a beautiful deck. The illustrations are really gorgeous. I think the author does a really great job, or illustrator. Sorry about that car, if you can hear it. Does a really great job, infusing, rather than sort of cups and swords and pentacles, they actually have chosen to go with sort of alchemic elements. So there's earth, water, air, fire, but then also ether or spirit. And they've kind of matched them to different animals and creatures. Which I really like. I think this box is also really nice. And when I first actually saw this, I wasn't initially drawn to it because I don't tend to work with reptiles a whole lot in my practice. But this is actually a dragon eye, which I didn't realize until later. But we might see that later on, depending on what comes up. As you can see, the elements here. It's very shiny, and I tend to not necessarily be drawn to that sort of iridescent quality as much as maybe earth tones, maybe again, brown. We do have black fur as a background after all. But when I began to use them, actually, I almost immediately felt a connection, and I've been really happy with it in my practice. Alright. Well, there's just a really wonderful, again there, variety of cards and animals that it works with. So we're going to do just sort of a one card draw for everybody who's watching this. And so, I hear a little bit of a siren in the background. Hopefully it's not going to be too loud. So basically, and the way that I do these readings is, obviously if it's in person, then it's relevant to you specifically. Well, the way I work with these cards in video format is sort of like, if you're watching the video, then you're a match to the card that's drawn. I'm sort of using the consciousness of the group in general. Past, present, future. Well, I guess not past, right? Groups, and basically, we're just kind of asking for some guidance as to how we can maybe get a little bit more in touch with ourselves, be a little bit more aware of who we are, what we want, and how to get there. I think that's basically sort of what it boils down to. The thing that I like about these cards is, I obviously have different animal spirits that I work with on my own a little bit. Raven being one of them, of course. Hawk being another. But these cards kind of give me a chance to connect with animals that I wouldn't necessarily, I want to say ordinarily work with. Like I know there's like turtles in here, and I haven't previously done work with him before, but he did come up for someone, and someone gave me a chance to, when those things happen, like even if I'm not necessarily connected to that animal, I'm able to kind of like check in with them and interpret what they have to say. The deck does come with sort of its own meanings, and I do factor those in, but also if I hear an animal trying to tell me something, I'll try to relay that information as well. So, this gives me a chance to meet lots of wonderful spirits. I really enjoy that. Okay. So again, we're just asking for the group that's watching some guidance as far as how to, let's say, what would be helpful for us in getting more in touch with ourselves about what we want and how to move towards that. And we're just going to do, I think, a one card draw today, unless something pops out, which has been known to happen from time to time. Okay. Sometimes these cards like to get kind of messed up. It happens a lot with my Raven Oracle cards, is they like to kind of get spread all around and scrambled up like a giant nest. But these cards aren't really seeming like they want that today, so we're gonna skip on that. Ooh. Okay, you can feel it's ready to go. Okay. Over here. Oh, that's right there. Bat. Okay. Let's see if we can get this guy front and center. Hey there, Bat. Let's see if you can get a clearer view. So this is what I was talking about with that beautiful artwork. Look at that stippling. And he does a really great job with sort of watercolor, or she does rather. Watercolor effect. With that moon. And that's a symbol for air right there. Speaking of air, if you can hear the airplane, I apologize. Hopefully it's not too loud. And there's Bat. So let's talk a little bit about Bat. Essentially, Bat is this card, or this deck's equivalent to the Death card in Tarot. Which is, don't panic. A Death card isn't necessarily good or bad. But basically, Bat brings us the sort of understanding that, we are here to live our lives and experience our lives. And a lot of what that means is that we have experiences in our life come in and leave. And sometimes we learn from those experiences, and sometimes we don't. But sometimes if we hold on to those experiences, or a way that we think that something should have been, should be, isn't becoming, isn't going to be, we can kind of get caught up in this sense of, it's almost like an internal angst or anguish when you're fighting against what is, or what was. And so I feel like a lot of what Bat brings is the sort of awareness of where we're at, acknowledging what we have experienced or what we are experiencing. Not shaming ourselves for feeling what we felt, not shaming ourselves for, maybe what we did or how we acted. We do the best with what we can from where we are. And it can be really tempting to kind of say, oh, geez, I wish I had known differently, or I wish that, I had more money then, or chose differently, or said the things I wanted to say. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It can inform us of what we'd like to do differently in the future. But by continuing to sort of fixate on that, and it should have been different, I want it to be different, and it's almost like it prevents us from actually learning any lessons, because we're so caught up in what should have been, or the stories that we tell ourselves about why something shouldn't have happened. A lot of what Bat tells us is every experience that we have is an opportunity to learn. And by letting go of it, and the stories and the expectations of what we had hoped for or had wanted or didn't get and things like that, we're allowed to see where we actually are, and sort of, I don't want to sound kind of cliche, but we're allowed to kind of see a little bit of a silver lining. And that doesn't mean experiences weren't painful or we can't wish that they were different, but sometimes when we focus so much on that, we're not actually able to see the growth that's maybe come out of an experience, or out of, you know, the developments that have moved us forward since that point. You know, a great example for me, I was in a relationship with a person I loved very much for a very long time, and we ended up breaking up and going our separate ways. We're still friends to this day, but for a while I kind of thought, well, why did I spend so much time on that person if we weren't meant to be together? And you know, the truth is, in the end, my time with that person taught me so much, not only about myself, but also about things that I wanted, things that I didn't know I was capable of growing into. And you know, at the end of the day, the breakup had to happen because neither of us were able to actually grow or heal or be ourselves, and it took time for us apart to be able to actually be able to form sort of healthy egos. We were both very young when we met, and we both kind of immediately just kind of grabbed onto each other. We didn't really have a chance to each develop our own personality. So when we broke up, it was incredibly painful, but you know, for me at least, I was able to start to learn a little bit more about myself. So that is also a sort of necessary out-breath before the in-breath. Kind of similar to, like, I mean, again, traditional tarot cards usually have the death card. And for bat is essentially needing to let go so that you can move on. This is the closing of a chapter. And I think it's important that it doesn't necessarily mean the breaking of relationships. And I just think it's important to say that. But I think it does mean allowing yourself to grow and heal from the experiences that you've had. Not having to kind of like hold on to them really tightly in order to make any meaning of them. But being able to say like, yep, that happened. And maybe focusing on ways that you're grateful for the experiences that you had, or even if they're kind of crappy, like being able to, you know, be aware of some positive aspects. Maybe it helped you to know what you didn't want, so you can know what you do want, move towards that in the future. Maybe it helped you to learn a new technique or skill, or maybe, I don't know. But what I'm basically getting from Bat is close your eyes, take a breath, and open those wings. I feel like you have so much ahead of you, so much potential, so much that you've been looking forward to, that you've been wanting, that you've been convincing yourself that you can't have, or maybe that you've been afraid to move towards because you are afraid of what it will mean for your old life, or something that's behind you that you've been holding on to. And Bat is basically just saying, hey, you gotta let go of you gotta let go of one ledge so that you can grab onto the next. It's maybe not ledge, but if you're clinging that hard to something that's no longer serving you, you're not really letting yourself grow, are you? I think that's kind of what Bat is trying to say. And these experiences that you've been through will help you to know better what you want, know better how to embrace what you want, and kind of navigate those waters as you're unfolding. So, I mean, what I'm seeing is letting go of what is unwanted, or rather what is just maybe not even wanted. It's not, doesn't mean you have to like, oh god, I don't want that anymore. Just like allowing yourself to actually like let go and move towards what you want. That will be helpful for you. And I think maybe in the process you might find yourself even discovering new wants and new needs and saying, oh geez, I didn't even realize this whole time, actually, you know, I've always wanted to travel the world, or actually I've always wanted to, you know, learn the guitar or something like that. And being able to kind of like let those old experiences kind of slide off of you, still learning from them, not like pushing them away, but just not letting them kind of control your life, I think will be really helpful. I think that's kind of the energy that's going on right now. The out breath before the in breath, that says. And you're going to have so much more space in your life, in your heart, I think, to be able to say, okay, this is what I want, this is what I need, and I'm going to let myself go get it, not hold myself back. That's also another thing, is I think a sense of being held back by the past and being held back by what you thought you wanted, or like that you didn't get what you wanted, so you're not going to be able to get what you want now, and focusing on that, that's a lack sensation. Just let that go. Like that stuff, I feel like bad is saying that stuff is needed to happen to some extent for you to be able to move forward, and say like, okay, it was almost what I wanted, or maybe it had some elements of things I like, but now I know more about myself. Maybe I'm a stronger person, or I have more resources or something like that. Take what you have and allow yourself to move on towards what it is that you really want. Maybe you don't even know it yet, and that's okay. The more you're able to let go of what you thought you wanted, or what you'd hoped for, and kind of release those expectations, the more you're going to flow into who you are actually becoming, and embrace that unknown. The night is dark, but there are so many stars hidden in that black sky. And Bat would like you to know that. Don't forget that moon. So that's kind of the energy for today, or for this experience. Just kind of check with yourself and see where you're at. What am I still holding on to? What am I still telling myself about what should have been? Can I find ways to make peace with what has happened? Kind of let that go and allow myself to start fresh, start anew, and just like, okay, how can I start living my life from today, moving forwards? Because you deserve it. You deserve good things. And you deserve to be all of who you desire to be. You really do. We've reached the end of our video, I think. I hope you have a relaxing day, night, evening, morning, whatever time of day it is for you. Thank you, Bat, for bringing us some guidance. Thank you, Raven. Thank you, Hawk. And I wish you guys the very best. Thank you guys for joining me If you like this video and you'd like to see more, please like and subscribe. I'm going to say pointing this way, assuming that it's down here. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And I'm so excited to be able to help share messages I'm getting from animals and just be able to kind of share with you guys. It's really enjoyable to me. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for joining me, guys.